If you are watching this right now, I want you to pause for just a moment and think about the one person in your life you cannot imagine losing. Not someone important, not someone useful, but someone who has truly been there for you, someone who knows your flaws and stayed anyway. Hold that person in your mind, because what I am about to share is not just a story, it is a warning written in regret. If this message reaches you at the right time, it could save you from making a mistake that no apology can fix. So before you go any further, take a second to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay with me until the end, because what I learned at 78 years old came at a cost I would never wish on anyone. I am 78 now, and I have lived long enough to see most of my friends buried, my children grown, and my strength slowly fade, but nothing has weighed on me more heavily than one decision I made many years ago. People often think life is destroyed by big dramatic events, something loud and obvious, but that is not how it happens. It happens quietly, through small choices, through words we say without thinking, through pride we refuse to let go of. I was married for 42 years to a woman named Grace. She was not perfect, and neither was I, but we built something together from nothing. We struggled in the early years, counting coins to buy food, sharing one small room with no privacy, but there was peace between us. That peace is something young people often underestimate. They chase excitement, passion, and constant happiness, but peace is what carries a relationship through the long years. Grace was patient in a way I did not fully understand at the time. When I failed, she did not humiliate me. When I was angry, she did not match my anger. She had a quiet strength, the kind that does not demand attention but holds everything together. The mistake I made did not come suddenly. It grew slowly inside me. As I got older, I began to feel something I could not name at first. It was not exactly unhappiness, but it was restlessness. I started to believe that I had missed out on something in life. I looked at other people, other marriages, other possibilities, and I began to compare. Comparison is a dangerous thing. It does not show you the truth, it only shows you what you think you are lacking. At first, it was harmless thoughts. I would notice how other women spoke, how they dressed, how they laughed. I told myself it meant nothing. After all, I was a faithful man. I had never cheated. I had provided for my family. I believed that was enough. But relationships are not destroyed only by actions. They are destroyed first in the mind. I began to withdraw from Grace, not in a dramatic way, but in small ways. I listened less. I became impatient with her stories. Things about her that I once loved started to irritate me. Her voice, her habits, even her kindness began to feel like something I took for granted. One evening, she asked me a simple question. She said, "Are you still happy with me?" It was such a small question, but I answered it carelessly. I said, "I don't know." I did not shout. I did not insult her. I just spoke without thinking. But those 3 words did more damage than any argument we had ever had. You see, in a long relationship, people do not need grand gestures every day. They need reassurance. They need to know they are still chosen. From that moment, something changed in her. She became quieter. Not angry, not confrontational, just quieter. At the time, I felt relieved. I thought the tension was gone. I thought the problem had solved itself. What I did not understand was that silence in a relationship is not peace. Sometimes, it is the beginning of distance. Months passed, and instead of fixing what I had broken, I allowed it to grow. I justified my behavior. I told myself that after so many years, it was normal to feel this way. I told myself I deserved more excitement, more attention, more appreciation. That is the lie that cost me everything. One day, Grace stopped asking me questions. She stopped trying to connect. She focused on her own life, her own routines. We lived in the same house, but it felt like we were visitors to each other. Then came the day I will never forget. She sat me down and spoke calmly. There was no anger in her voice, no tears, just clarity. She said, "I have spent most of my life loving you, but I cannot keep loving someone who is no longer sure about me." In that moment, I felt something I had not felt before. Fear. Not the kind of fear that makes you panic, but the kind that slowly tightens around your chest. The realization that something precious is slipping away, and you may not be able to stop it. I tried to fix it then. I said the words I should have said months earlier. I told her I loved her, that I did not mean what I said, that I was just confused. But here is the truth most people learn too late. Timing matters. Words said too late lose their power. She did not argue. She did not accuse me. She simply said, "I believe you now, but I needed you to believe it when it mattered." We did not divorce. That is what surprises most people. We stayed married. We continued living together. But the relationship we once had was gone. You might think staying together means everything is fine, but sometimes staying is just a different kind of loss. We became polite, respectful, even cooperative, but the warmth, the closeness, the deep connection, it never returned. Years later, she passed away quietly. I was there, holding her hand, but even in that moment, I could feel the distance I had created. She did not look at me the same way she used to. There was no anger in her eyes, just acceptance. After she was gone, the house became unbearably silent. That is when the weight of my mistake truly settled on me. Not when she spoke those words, not when things started to change, but when there was no longer any chance to make it right. Regret is a heavy thing. It does not shout. It sits with you every day. It follows you into your quiet moments. It reminds you of the exact point where you could have chosen differently. If you are listening to me now, I want you to understand this clearly. The mistake that cost me everything was not cheating, not betrayal in the way people usually think. It was something far more subtle. I stopped choosing the person who had always chosen me. I allowed doubt, comparison, and pride to replace gratitude. I assumed that love, once built, would maintain itself. I believed that time guaranteed security. It does not. Love is not something you earn once and keep forever. It is something you continue to give attention to, especially when it becomes familiar. If I could go back, I would answer that simple question differently. When she asked, "Are you still happy with me?" I would not hesitate. I would not analyze. I would not compare. I would say, "Yes, and I choose you again." Because sometimes, that is all a relationship needs. Not perfection, not constant excitement, just reassurance and presence. So here is my advice to you, not as a teacher, but as someone who learned too late. Pay attention to the small moments. The questions that seem simple often carry the deepest meaning. Do not let your mind wander into comparisons that steal your appreciation. Speak your love clearly and often, not just when things are good, but especially when they are uncertain. And most importantly, do not wait until the connection fades to try to rebuild it. By then, the foundation may already be gone. You may think you have time. I thought I did too. But time has a way of moving quietly until one day, it is no longer on your side. If there is someone in your life right now who still reaches for you, who still asks, who still tries, do not take that lightly. That effort is not guaranteed forever. I am 78 years old, and if I could exchange all the years I have left for one chance to answer that question differently, I would do it without hesitation. So before this day ends, speak to that person in your life. Not with pride, not with hesitation, but with honesty. Let them know they are still chosen. Because the greatest mistake you can make in a relationship is not losing love suddenly. It is slowly letting it slip away while believing it will always be there.